You only live once, okay? You only live once. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hod Pod. It's your girl, Emma, and we have some exciting things for you today. I'm basically just going to yap. So, grab your coffee. This is an iced latte. Shout out to my roommate. And it has pumpkin spice creamer. That's my laundry going off, but I'm so excited to be with you guys today. Welcome back to the Hot Pod. It's been a while. It has been a while, hasn't it? So it's just me today, and I'm honestly just going to be talking about my life because some things have happened. I feel like since last season, just some things have happened, and I just wanted to catch you guys up on everything and kind of just talk about where I'm at right now and where I feel like the Lord is leading me. And yeah, just wanted to be like honest and vulnerable with you guys, because I know sometimes I just like say stuff and then I feel like there's no context for that. So this is hopefully going to be a more like raw and real episode. So buckle up, buttercup, grab your chai and hop on that walk, because you're in for a doozy. So basically, I'm in my post-grad era, and it's just kind of crazy because I just feel like God's doing so much. And I'm going to give a backstory because I feel like, I don't know, whoever is listening, you may know that I majored in musical theater in college. And so I'm just going to give you like the short version of my life story. But basically, I went to professional arts high school for musical theater. It was in the plan to do musical theater my whole life, basically. The school that I went to is like pump you out for Broadway kind of vibe. It's basically like Broadway or bust. And so I grew up like dancing and performing, not dancing. I grew up like doing choir, and like I was the Wicked Witch of the West in the 5th grade, and like knew I wanted to do acting. Like I always said, like, I want to be an actress when I grow up, all the things. And so I kind of hit that path in college. I auditioned my senior year of high school at the arts high school. I auditioned for a bunch of arts colleges. I auditioned for like Elon, all the good musical theater programs. And I got into Belmont, which is where I went, in Nashville, Tennessee. And the reason I chose Belmont was because of the faith aspect. Faith was really important to me. I remember like even in my audition, I was like, I don't remember what I said. They were like, why do you want to go to Belmont? And I was like, well, I love Jesus. And so like that's why I chose Belmont. I knew they had a good musical theater program. Not a lot of people go there for musical theater. Like we're like up and coming. Like a lot of our people that have recently graduated have been like booking Broadway and things like that. But I knew it wasn't like Broadway or bust, kind of like my high school experience. But the program is definitely developing and it's becoming like that. So slay for them. But anyway, I went to college for musical theater and was like, Broadway or bust, that's what I want to do. But I really loved the faith aspect of Belmont. And so my sophomore year of college, I got involved in a ministry called Delight Ministries, and I started leading. I did their social media, and I just started falling in love with women's ministry. Like, I loved hearing just women's stories, and I found myself at a conference for Delight. It was their leadership conference, and I just like felt God be like, it's in John 21. I'll read it for you so we get the good stuff. But basically in John 21, Peter is like reinstated because Peter denies Jesus 3 times when Jesus was arrested. And so Jesus, when he rises again, he gets to like reinstate Peter basically. And so Peter's like off fishing and he sees Jesus and he like puts his clothes on and runs into the water and goes to the feet of Jesus. And then Jesus basically makes them breakfast on the shoreline. And this is the scripture that I felt at this conference. And and I heard it in my head. And then later I was like looking at scripture and I was like, oh, this is what God was telling me. But it says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, follow me. And so I just heard at the conference the song Canvas and the Clay was playing. LOL, love that song. And I literally just heard like over and over in my brain, feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my sheep. And I just started crying and I was like, I feel like I'm meant to do this. And at that conference, I like stood up in front of a bunch of girls and like shared my story. And I just felt like that night, like I felt more comfortable on that kind of a stage than I ever had felt like on a musical theater stage. And I don't know, it was just like, it marked a time in my life where I was like, this is what I was made for and I want to do this. And so I tried to switch my major, which I don't know if a lot of people know that, but my minor at Belmont was biblical studies. And so I tried to switch my major. I was like, Mom, Dad, like I want to do ministry. Like this is what I want to do. And they were like, no. They were like, no, you can't do that. We sent you to school for musical theater. Like you need to see this through. And I was really sad because obviously that's something that I felt like God was tugging on my heart, but I couldn't pursue that. And so I kept doing musical theater. And I didn't really tell a lot of people within the program about that. I just knew I was called to ministry and I didn't know what that looked like. And so my junior year, I studied in New York City and I got the opportunity I never signed with the manager, but I had a manager and he like claimed all these things that he was going to like get me ready for Broadway. And like, once he had the right audition, like I would go in, audition and book the role. He'd done it for a few people on, one of the Donna Summer tours or something. And so I went to New York thinking, okay, I'm never coming back. This man has my life in his hands. And like, this is it. This is what I've always wanted. I want to be an actor. I want to pursue the musical theater thing. I love New York. Like, let's do it. So I packed my bags and I went to New York City. And it was like studying a study abroad program with Belmont. And so I was doing the thing. I was dancing 15 hours a week. I was taking acting classes. I was making connections. My manager had this guy watching me in my dance classes. And so it just became this really big pressure cooker. And I was eating, but I wasn't eating. you know what I'm saying? And it was just a really hard time, honestly. And in that time, there was a lot of family stuff going down within my family. And I just like hit the ground. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't dance this much. I'm tired of putting myself out there. And my manager basically made a lot of promises, I guess, that he didn't really keep. And which I kind of see as the protection of the Lord. Like, how do I word this? I really just felt like you can gain the whole world and forfeit your own soul while I was up there. And that's not to say that people who do anything in the world is bad, because I think if you're called to do that, like God will see you through that. But for me, it just felt like I wasn't called to be there, which is really sad because there is a part of me that really loves musical theater still and wants to do that. And I know that the Lord will make a way for that. But anyway, all that to say, from that point on, before I left in New York, I was unwell. There was family stuff going down. I was just like grieving so much. I was tired. I was like 30 pounds thinner. It was just a crazy time. And I was like, okay, God, I want to leave New York City. I kind of was just like, I hate New York. But I was like, Lord, like, I want to, show me that this was not all for nothing. And so I signed up for this like voiceover class, and I've always loved voiceover. I kind of think that this is like an expedited version of my whole entire story. So, but I'd always loved voiceover. I'm the voice of a little green robot. Enter her here on a kids TV show. And like, that's my dream. When people would ask me my dream, I would say Broadway, but I would also say like the voice of Elsa in Frozen would be so fun. And so I took this voiceover class, and I signed a freelance contract with an agent that was running the class for commercial voiceover. And that was like, for me, that was the Lord confirming, like, I brought you here for this, and like, I want you to do voiceover, and I want you to go home and heal, because so much happened to me while I was in New York, and we'll see with musical theater, but like, let's go home. And so I went home to Nashville that summer. I fell in love with Evan Revis. Ooh, that's a story for another time. We'll get to that in another episode. I'll give you the whole thing, hopefully when but anyway, that's, again, TBD, to be continued. Anyway, drama. But yeah, I went home, I started dating Evan, I was doing a show, I was doing voiceover, and I started the podcast during that time, and I really felt like God wanted me to start the podcast out of a place of just like pain. I was experiencing a lot of grief, and maybe we can talk about that another time on the podcast, but I lost a family member while I was in New York City, and it was really sad and hard, and I think that's why I just needed to go home to heal. And as I went home, I tell people that I fell into the arms of RUF, which is the ministry that I now work for. I remember this like it was yesterday. I went to their summer camp. It was a week-long camp called Summer Conference, and I was the most unwell I'd ever been. I couldn't understand why God would let someone so near and dear to me leave my life, and in such a way that was so harmful and hurtful to our family. And so I just found myself, unwell, because when you live in New York City, your nervous system is like all the time. And so when I got back from New York, I was like unwell because I was like, wait, how do I drive a car? And then like, how do I be a human? Was really what was going on, because I'd just come out of this pressure cooker of like dancing all the time, being watched, not being allowed to audition, but being told like, this is what your life is going to be. And then grieving the loss of a family member, and then just going straight into this summer camp. It was crazy. And so anyway, I just had this one memory of me rolling down to the beach. We were supposed to be in I was supposed to be in a seminar about suffering, and I couldn't do it. The person was talking about Job, and I was so triggered because my family was suffering in an unspeakable way, and I just couldn't listen. And so I made my way down to the beach, and I like fell on my knees, and I started wailing. I don't know if you've ever heard wailing before, but it's not pretty. And so I started just like bellowing to God. I was like, why, God? Why would you let this happen? Why would you break up my family in this way? I just remember sitting there, and my friend Eleanor, who's on the podcast a couple weeks ago, she was like, I texted her to come down to the beach, and I just was like, I don't understand why God is letting this such evil happen to me. And she just spoke such truth into me. And this is kind of a gory image, but I remember like literally lying down on the beach and looking up at the clouds, and it was like a gray cloud and a white cloud together. And I just remember looking to my left, and it was like I was sitting in like a pool of blood, and Jesus in his crown of thorns was sitting next to me, and he was like, I know what it's like to feel this way. And I just felt him so intimately close. And I know this is like a lot of random story, and like, what am I talking about? But I say all that to say the community of RUF was there for me that summer as I was in an intense place of grief, and I had never experienced that. I'd never experienced this much grief, but also I'd never experienced a community that would wrap their arms around me in such a way that I needed. I think I've shared on the podcast of what my church history is, but I experienced a lot of abuse in the church I grew up in, and so I had never experienced a community that truly wanted to like walk through hard things with me, and so it was just life-changing, and I don't even really have words for it. All that to say, that was a great summer. All the things. This is like, I don't even know how we started this, but here we are. Then I went into senior year of musical theater, and I was like, slay, I'm going to give it my all. Like, I wasn't allowed to change my major, but I'm here, I'm doing it. Let's go. And so I wanted my program to do Legally Blonde because I love Legally Blonde, and I was like, hello, I'm the perfect Elle Woods. Guys, come on. No, I wasn't like that, but I wanted to audition for Elle Woods, and I wanted to be her. That was my dream. And so my senior year was a dream. I got to do my senior show. I was dating Evan Revis, the love of my life, which will give you that backstory here soon. Anyway, all the things. And I got my dream role at Christmas. I literally crapped my pants when I found out. And it was like a full circle moment of like, wow, God, you love me so much, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, but I'm just gonna be Elle Woods, and it's gonna be okay. But anyway, I finished my senior year, but throughout that time, I just kept going back to like, Lord, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And I just couldn't shake the ministry. Anyway, where was I? I couldn't shake ministry. I couldn't shake it. I had felt that specific call, and RUF had changed my life. And so I applied for the RUF internship, which is a 2-year program. And it's a way to do hands-on ministry. And with that, you get like discounted seminary after. And so I've just always, my sophomore year, when I was like, what do I do with my life? I love stories. I love telling stories. I love doing that through musical theater, but I also love hearing women's stories and speaking into their lives. And so I don't know. I was like just praying through it. And as much as I love musical theater, my experience in New York was just so hard. And I know that New York will always be there, but right now I don't feel the need or desire to go back and to pursue the thing. And I don't know if that's because of what happened or just the Lord dimming that desire, if he'll bring it back up one day. But right now, that's where I'm at. And so, yeah. So I applied for the internship. I got in, and I knew that I wanted to stay in Nashville because Evan was here, and I just was like, I don't feel like God is done in Nashville yet. And so I got placed at Belmont and have been doing ministry there. And so, yeah, that's like to today. That's what's been going on. And I guess I just wanted to give you that backstory because I feel like I haven't like really like put language to what God is like doing in my life and heart. And I just wanted to be honest and vulnerable with you guys because I want to invite you on this journey. And I know that every story looks different, but I don't know. I was just like thinking about and praying like, okay, Lord, where do you want the hot pod to go? And I just feel like I haven't really shared a lot about my life. I think I've just been like talking about Jesus, which is great. And I think there's a place for that. But I think I've changed most in life, or like have experienced God through God in people's stories. And so I just wanted to share a little of mine so that you feel like you know the girl behind the mic and you're not just talking to a random stranger. So that's my life story in 20 minutes. Yeah, I hope that was, I don't know if helpful is the word, but gives you some context and maybe a place to go from here. But yeah, I love you guys so much, and I love the Hod Pod, and I'm really grateful for all God is doing in my life and heart. And I really do feel so grateful to wake up every day and to be pursuing ministry. It definitely doesn't look like the way I thought my life would look when I was like 5 years old wanting to be an actress on Broadway. But I'm really grateful for the opportunities that he's given me. And yeah, I just want to encourage you wherever you are in your story or your career, like the Lord is with you. And I don't know, something that I've been really convicted of lately is that the Lord sees every desire that's on your heart, and he hears it, and he wants to his word says, delight in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And so those desires are there for a reason, whether that's for a husband, whether that's for a career, whether that's for a family member coming to know Jesus. Those desires are there for a reason. And as you delight yourself in God and you submit to his ways and you just bask in his glory and spend time with him, he will fulfill those desires. And that may be, he may change your heart's desires. He may change the way you see things to then desire what he wants. And I think that's a lot of what God has done in my story. I've wanted it my way, my timing, and how I want it. And that's just not who God is. He has the perfect plan, and he knows the way in which he wants us to go. And us submitting to that is a beautiful and hard thing. And so if you're there with me right now, you're not seeing necessarily, I think that's what I wanted, the gist of what I wanted to share today is the two halves of myself. I feel like I haven't been able to bridge well on the podcast. And so the musical theater part of me is kind of on hold in a sense right now. And the ministry part of me is being let loose. And I'm learning so much. I'm learning what it means to love people and what it means to be faithful and loyal. But, it's hard when the other half of my heart feels like it's like freezing and cold, so just trying to be honest. And I do not have it all together. I don't know what I'm doing with my life, but it's okay because Jesus does, and he is king. And yeah, I hope that makes sense, and I hope I'm not sounding crazy, but yeah, I just wanted to share a little of my heart with you guys. And yeah, just know that, hey, we're on this road together, and it's windy and it's going everywhere, but Jesus is with us and he's on the throne. And like we talked about on the Ellie episode, he has sat down, and so we can rest in his arms, we can rest in his strength and in his righteousness and walk with him through life. So the Lord is at work. Go join him. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week. Mwah.